Hi, welcome to the first in a three-part series of building your course in Canvas. You're going to learn some really basic stuff to get you started, but over these three videos, there will be about 30 to 40 minutes apiece. You're going to know almost everything that you need to for building your course. And then later on, we'll be sharing some series in teaching your course. Let's get started by building our island cooking course. We select it from the dashboard and it's empty. It's just a container for content. These courses come over from Colleague DataTel and are put in for you automatically. They're ready and waiting for you to add content. On the left-hand side of your course, you'll see a lot of navigational links, and we could build pages of information, discussion posts, assignments using these links over here, quizzes, but probably the more efficient way is to just jump right in and add them from within the module, the lesson module that you'll be using. So let's go ahead and create a new module. I'm going to select the module plus orange button over here on the right hand side. And then we're going to give our module a name. Now this is entirely up to you. If you'd like to use units, if you'd like to use topics, chapters, I use a combination of weeks and topics. Weeks being, Carson-Newman has a full term of 15 weeks, and we have a mini terms of 8 weeks, or accelerated terms of 8 weeks. So depending on which one you're teaching in or building the course for is how many weeks you would have. So I'm just going to start out by putting week 1 and introducing the course and culture. We're looking at island cooking, so I want to give some introductions on the course, but I also need to have some meaningful material in my first week about the topics within the course. Now I've built just a container now for some information in this learning module. Let's go ahead and build another one. I'm going to select the plus module and we'll do week 2. And in week 2 we're going to be using or learning about chef tools that need to be used in cooking. So I'll go ahead and add that module. And if I made a mistake in what I wanted to call it, or I misspelled something, I can select the 3 buttons, the up and down dots over here on the right, which will always mean more choices, and I can select edit from here. And maybe I don't want to call it chef tools, maybe I want to call it chef, let's say in the kitchen tools, and then we'll update the module. So it's pretty easy to update your titles of your modules. I have seen some instructors put the actual date of the week in here. You just have to remember every time you copy the course over, you will have to go in and edit those module names, which is perfectly fine. I could go 1 through 15, 1 through 8, but I'm going to start right over here and add content into my module. And I do that by selecting the plus sign all the way over on the right hand side from the module title. And you'll notice that it pops up and says, do you want to give the students an assignment? Usually when my students enter the classroom on the first day, I don't throw an assignment at them before I talk to them. What I want to give is information. So from here, I'm going to select the drop-down arrow, and I've got a lot of choices, and I'm going to choose page. Page is used for informational only. It's not usually an assignment. It's information and to make the course sometimes a little bit more welcoming. Had I created the pages over here and created all my pages at once, they would have been listed here and I could just select one. But since we're starting from scratch, I need to do a new page and give it a name. So I'm going to call it Week 1, Overview, and Instruction. Okay, pretty generic. And truthfully, I like to give this type of page of information for every module. It's sort of an announcement, if you will, an overview of the week, and you certainly on your page could add a video if you wanted to of you talking to the students. I'm going to go ahead and add that item. And now we see we have a container for our page. And I keep saying container because a container is holding something. Well, this page doesn't have any information on it yet. So right now it is only a container or a placeholder. To get into it, I'm just going to select the title of it itself. You'll notice how my cursor turns into the little pointing finger, and so I know that that's clickable. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And I see a blank page of information, just as I was expecting. You're always going to find the edit buttons up here in the upper right hand corner. It depends on the browser that you're using, whether you actually see a button that says edit or whether you see 3 dots that go sideways. Either way, you'll want to open it from there. When I select edit, I come into my blank page and I'm presented with this, which is called the Rich Content Editor. And it's a lot like what we may have seen in the past in our past LMS system, but this one's a lot more robust. And we're going to be going over most of these tools. You're all familiar with the bold, italic, underline, text color changer, back highlighter of the text. This one will clear all formatting. That's useful if you're copying and pasting from somebody else's document. Of course, left, center, right aligned, decrease an indent and increase an indent. We've got superscript and subscript, which is used quite often, especially in math classes. And then we've got bulleted lists and numbered lists. On the second row, this very first one is insert a table. Now you want to use tables very infrequently, because even though you might like them for lining things up, our students are actually accessing their learning management system more and more from their mobile devices. And tables don't render as well on a mobile device. Also, screen readers for the visually impaired sometimes have difficulties reading tables. The next one over is insert media. And I'm going to go ahead and click on that so you can see what that looks like. Here you would be embedding certain media. So if you had a movie in one of your publishing areas, maybe some movies available through our library system, and they give you the embed code, you would select embed and paste the code here. The general insert media, this source would be the URL. And then we've got some advanced things. I think that we have a lot better ways of doing that, so I'm going to cancel that there. I think we have better ways than here, but that's always an option. This is a link to another URL, and this would be breaking the link. And it works like this. So if I wanted the students to be able to go to Google, I would just type in what I want them to see, and then I select the link and I type in the whole URL here. And insert the link. When I click away from it, you'll notice that it turns color and it actually becomes clickable by the student. The next one over is inserting pictures that are located somewhere else on the internet. So for example, if you've got the URL of a specific picture, you could put it here, and there's some other questions that you would answer here. Now you might have an image that is in your course files. That would just insert it there. You would give it a different name. There's also an option to select Flickr, which is a copyright-free gallery of images. I'm going to go ahead and cancel that because we don't want an image right now. The next one over is to insert a math equation. And I believe this uses math latex, but I'm not positive. Dr. Starnes probably could tell you a whole lot more about this than I could. And then we've got YouTube insertions, Vimeo insertions, more apps. If you wanted to insert your Microsoft Office 365 document here, you could. Maybe you want to insert a Teams meeting as an assignment or as an information. You could do that. We'll be touching on that at a later date. And then we could record and upload media from this button. It's going to ask you if it can access your microphone, if it can start recording, or you can upload media that you've previously recorded by selecting the audio file or selecting the video file. There's going to be another option available soon under here. We've purchased a product called Studio Screencast-O-Matic that's going to act a lot like what I'm using right now with the screen sharing and the screen recording option. Or you can record yourself and the screen, or you could just record yourself with it. So that'll be nice, and I will announce that at a future date. We are in the United States, so we usually align everything left, but if you want your paragraphs aligned right, you would just choose that. And then of course this is text size, and this is styles, and we're going to talk a lot about those in just a few minutes. And then this is an accessibility checker. So now that we've talked a little bit about the rich content editor and the tools, we're ready to dig in. Okay, so I've removed the Google link because that isn't how we really want to start things. What I like to start with are, what are the learning objectives for the week? Now, you don't have to. I'm just going to give you some examples of how it could be done. So I've got my learning objectives, and those are, I'm just going to go ahead, I've got a Word document here pulled up, and I'm going to copy and paste because this is in a typing class. You didn't log on to watch me type. So I'm going to paste in my learning objectives, and then I want to make sure that they are going to read some material, and then I'm going to have them maybe watch a video, and then I'm going to have them complete a couple of assignments. Now you'll notice that all of everything that I'm entering in here looks pretty blah and mundane, and it also nothing stands out. I want the learning objectives, the read, the watch, the assignments to all be headers. Okay, and you would have usually in Microsoft Office products, Word, or your everyday word processor done a bold, italic, underline. We want to avoid using that because we need to make sure our courses are ADA compliant. And what that means is somebody that's visually impaired that's using a screen reader, we need to make sure that this is accessible for them. And a screen reader doesn't understand bold, italic, underline, but they can say new section, learning objectives, when the reader reads it to them. That's what we're going to use these styles for. And you'll notice everything comes through naturally in a paragraph style, but we're going to change it to a heading style. Now, I think header 2 is a little bit large and obnoxious for the visually impaired, so I usually select header 3. It's entirely up to you though. What you don't want to do is to highlight this and put any like the background colors in, or change your text colors. You want to keep it black and white as much as possible. Now these 3 here are a list, and I could just indent them, but I like to compress them and make them either bullets or numbers. And I'm going to select the numbered list, and you'll see that it automatically lists it for me. I am ready to go on with my next section, so I'm going to change Read to Header 3, and you'll notice that the cursor was just in the center of the word Read. It didn't need to highlight the whole thing. I'll do the same thing with Watch, and then Assignments. So I want them to read from the text chapters 1 and 2 this week. Okay, and you could again reiterate the name of the text if you want to. The more you give them in way of repetition, you're liable that they'll get to the right spot. And now I want them to watch a video. I don't remember the name of the video. I do remember it was on YouTube. So I don't have to go out of my browser and go into YouTube. I can select it right from here. And I can just do a search, and I want to do it on the Virgin Islands. And do a search on that, and let's see what comes up. I have no idea which one this is, but let's pretend this is the video that we wanted. I could just select Embed, and it's going to put it right in here. But since this is just a very small listing and I want to grab their attention to the amount of information on this page, I want to keep it a little bit smaller. I don't want it large, and I may not even want it medium. I'm going to select small. It's your personal choice what size you put in there. And now under Assignments, we're going to have a discussion. Put week 1 discussion, and they'll also have a week 1 assignment. Now I'm going to come back later on and link these, but we haven't created those yet, so let's just go ahead and save. And that's what your page looks like after it has been published. So when the students come in, they can see pretty quickly, this is what my week's going to look like. You'll notice I didn't put any dates in. If I was to put dates in, I would say discussion, original post due by, and when is the first post due? Not on the specific date, but the specific day. My original discussion postings are usually assigned for Wednesday by 11:59 p.m. So that's all I would have entered in here. And my assignments are due Sunday at 11:59 p.m., which is the end of the week. Those are pretty standard and best practice dates. Okay, let's go back home or back to modules. At this point, it's going to take us to the same place. Okay, we see we have our overview page, and now we said on our overview page that we were going to create a discussion post. So again, I could do it over here in discussions, but I'm in the module and my mind's set in the module, so I want to go ahead and try it here. I'm going to enter it here. There's the plus sign. I'm going to select from my drop down a discussion assignment, and I haven't created any, so again I need to do a new topic, and you can see how repetitive this is starting to be. So my discussion, I can just call it week 1 discussion. Sometimes it's easy to keep things pretty standard. I could also give it the topic, Virgin Island culture, and we'll go ahead and add that item. Okay, it's just a placeholder right now, right? There's nothing in it. Let's go ahead and go into our discussion. And we're going to edit. And you'll find that the edit button is always in the upper right corner in some location in this spot. So Canvas has done a really good job of keeping things consistent throughout, so it's easy to find. You're presented with the rich content editor again, and you're almost familiar to a T with it. Let's go ahead and just put in our discussion post right here. And again, I just copied and pasted from Word. I might need to clean it up a little bit. I didn't want so much spacing between my paragraphs. And it doesn't like the word ethnicities spelt like that. So I'm just going to change that. And you'll notice all I did was right click on it and select the word that it suggested. I didn't have to. I just wanted to show you how to do that. If there was another attachment to this, another file that I wanted to attach, I could attach it here just like in attaching to an email. When you're doing a discussion, here's the important part down here. You must allow threaded replies for it to be a true discussion. If you don't, the other students can read what their course mates have written, but they can't respond. And this is the one I really like. If it's a discussion that really needs some critical thinking and some research on the student's part, then I want them to post theirs before they see anybody else's. I haven't worked with Enable Podcast Feed, so I'm just going to skip over that. This is a graded discussion, but if it weren't, I would still want to add it to the calendar. So if it weren't a graded discussion, I would select Add to the To-Do list and put in a date here when the student should have this discussion done by. But this is graded, and it's not a group discussion, it's for the whole class. And how many points is it worth? I'm going to go ahead and put in 100 because I'll show you weighting later on, and if you're going to do weighting, then everything should usually be 100 points. Do you want to display it as points? Well, no, I'm going to have it displayed as a percentage to the students. Now, even though this is a discussion assignment, I might want a different group. I want to see how my students have done in their discussions as opposed to their full-blown assignments. Or I might put a different weight on discussions than I do on assignments. So I'm going to go ahead and choose New Group and enter that there and add the group. We don't need to do anything with peer reviews, but what we do need to do is put a due date down. Canvas is very date driven, and it does help the students, and it's really a best practice to make sure you're using the dates. So I'm going to select the calendar, and remember I said I usually have my discussion post due by Wednesday night. So classes are starting on the 18th. Okay, for the fall they start on the 18th. I'm going to have that first discussion post due on the 19th. And you'll notice that it automatically put in 11:59. Again, that's a best practice. So I'm ready to save and publish. Now, if I only wanted the students to be able to get to this discussion between a certain date from a start and an end, I would put that here. But please realize if you have an end date on it, they cannot go back in and look at it even. Go ahead and save and publish. So now we've got the discussion post published. It shows how many possible points can be achieved with this particular discussion. You're subscribed automatically to the discussion because you're the one that posted this. And this is where it becomes very important that you set up your notifications in your account so that your phone or your email doesn't blow up every time somebody submits a discussion post. You don't want an email every time that happens. Your students will see this and they'll just be able to hit reply here. Now I'm going to go back to the home page, and the home page right now is set to modules. and I'm going to select the student view. Anytime I add a couple of things, I always like to look at that through the student view, and you're going to be very surprised that the student sees nothing. Okay, no modules have been defined for this course. And you say, well, wait, I did put in 2 modules. Well, let's leave the student view and see why the possible reason is for that. Well, we've published the page and we published the discussion, but we didn't publish the module. You have to make sure that this is active in order for this all to be visible. So now when I go into student view, they can see the module. Okay, we said that in our overview that we were also going to do an assignment for the week. So I'm going to come over here and hit the plus sign. This time I do want to add an assignment. I didn't make it in assignments over here, so I'm going to go ahead and add a new assignment. And we'll give this one a, let's see, how about we call it Culture and Cooking. And we'll go ahead and add that item. And very repetitive, we need to click on the title to go into it. We select the edit in the upper right corner. We're presented with the rich content editor. We're going to put in our instructions here. And I'm actually going to just copy and paste the same thing that we used for the discussion, just so that I have something to put in here. And again, when you copy and paste, depending on if it's from a PDF or a Word document, you might have to make some changes. And I'm going to say write. Well, I hit something I shouldn't have. So we're going to tell them to write an essay, and how many words, writing style, citation style, all the things that you would normally give in an instruction for this type of an assignment. You might want to give them, I'm going to go up here to my browser and do a search on Purdue, because they're probably one of the best known citation sites. Let's go to Purdue OWL and look at APA format. I'll just go ahead and click on that, select the URL. Now I'm going to go back to my assignment and say APA tips, and I also might want to put some essay tips in. Essay writing tips. So I copied the URL for Purdue OWL. All I have to do is select that, select the link, and paste that URL that I copied there. Now the essay writing tips, I found something really fun. If I go out here to images, I found a nice image. I'm not sure if it was copyrighted or not. I found it just browsing the web. But let's pretend for this sake that it's not. To insert an image, a picture of any kind, is just that easy. You go browse and find it, and then you're going to put in, what is this a picture of? Now I've got essay tips, talk with instructor. You could also make this particular image clickable so that it actually pulled up a document that had the same tips on it. But we're just going to go ahead and upload that. And now we've got some essay tips in a picture form. So the content editor works the same no matter whether you're in a page, whether you're in a discussion post, whether you're in assignment instructions, or you'll see tomorrow or the next video when we look at quiz insertion that it's the same thing. But remember, if you have headings, you want to use your style header, okay, by selecting the style header over here. And then when your page is complete, you want to use this little man right here, and you click on him and he checks the accessibility, and it tells us how many issues we have, and if we had any, it would give suggestions on how to fix them. To end up this assignment, let's put in how much it's worth. What assignment group is it going to go in? This is a major assignment, so I'm just going to put it in assignments. I like to display my grades as percentages. And the submission here is an online submission. And depending on your preference, you could have them upload a video of themselves with a video essay, or if it's a written essay, you're going to use the file uploads. We can restrict those uploads to certain file types. I'm a Windows user. I can't use Mac Pages, so I always restrict my types to DOC, DOCX, and I'm putting commas in between here, PDF and RTF. RTF is stands for rich files, and any word processor can open those. Last, I'm going to put the due date on it. And the best practices is Sunday night at 11:59 for any assignments for the week. So I'm going to have select done. I'm going to keep it available and save and publish. When I click back home, I see that my first week is almost done. We'll do one more thing and we'll end the video for today. We're going to go back to the overview and instruction. And I want to link week 1 discussion to week 1 discussion. To do that, I need to go in and edit. Select week 1 discussion, and on the right hand side I'm going to select discussions button, and we've only got one discussion, so I'm going to grab that one, and I'm going to do the same thing with assignment. Select assignments and find the culture and cooking assignment, okay, and then save. So now they don't even have to go out to the module. When they're reading here, they're done watching the video. They can click the discussion here if that suits your student. So we've come a long way at our first steps of building a course. The next part in this series is building your course, part 2.